Greetings and welcome back. In this section, we are going to cover question 1 from DBE 2019, which is based on plotting a cumulative frequency curve, or we call it a cumulative frequency graph. So this is DBE 2019, and I'm mostly going to focus much on how do we draw a cumulative frequency graph, or we call it a cumulative frequency curve, or some call it a cumulative frequency plot, or an Ogive. That's another term for it. Now, so we have a question 1 here, and it reads as follows: each child in a group of 4-year-old children was given the same puzzle to complete. The time taken in minutes by each child to complete the puzzle is shown in the table below. So we are given a table here, and then there are some questions that follow. How many children complete the puzzle? Calculate the estimate mean taken to complete the puzzle. Complete the cumulative frequency column in the table given in the answer book, and so on. Now, so before I get into us answering this question, I just want to highlight a few things here regarding the type of information that we are given here. Remember, this question is based on statistics. So statistics is a branch of mathematics that deals with the collection of data. You collect data, you organize the data, what we call data handling. So data handling is what you do when you represent the data. You collect it, you summarize it, and you analyze and interpret that data. So that's statistics. Now the type of information that you collect. Data is any information that has not been processed, any raw information that we collect. Either we call it data. Now that information, data, is classified into two types of data. So okay, if I can just write here, there is data. Now there are two types of data we can categorize into two. The first group of data is what is called the categorical data. So we've got categorical data. And then the other data is what is called numerical data. Now, categorical data is mostly descriptive. So this is descriptive. It means the data that you use that tend to describe. For example, if I ask a group of people, what's your favorite color? They can give me different colors: yellow, pink, green. What's your favorite car? Are you male or female? Do you like this? Yes or no? So that information is descriptive. And then there is some other information, data, that is numerical, which means we use numbers. For example, if I may ask, how old are you? What is your how many kilometers do you travel to a particular point, and so on. So there is numerical data. Now, this numerical data, we can then further classify it into two. There is what is called discrete data. You see why I'm explaining this. And then we have what is called continuous data. Now, discrete data is mainly data that do with counting. So this speaks to counting. And continuous data is to do with measurement. So what we're saying is, when I gather information, for example, I'm making a survey of how many cars are passing a particular point of a road. So I have to count how many cars there are. Okay, how many people are entering a mall. So that is, I'm counting the number of items, number of cars, number of tables, a number of people. So that type of data, the values that I get are described as discrete. And then some data, it's numerical, but it is continuous. Continuous is data that we get when we are measuring. So measuring in the sense of counting how much it is, not counting now, but for example, if I can give an example of an age, okay, so we measure how old something is, we can have mass, how heavy something is, we have got a time. That's why here we have got a time, okay, and so on and so on. So with the continuous data, what I can say is we tend to make use of decimals here when we are measuring. For example, age, we have got decimals. You can have 2 years, 3 months, and weeks, days, and so on. So there are fractions to this type of data. Mass, the same thing. We can have 3.5 kg and so on. There are decimals to it. Time, hours, minutes, seconds. So they are decimals. But when a person is counting, discrete data tends to do with integer values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you are counting. You may not have 7.25 cars or 3.25 people. So that's what characterizes discrete and continuous data. So here we tend to have decimals, and in discrete we don't have the decimal values. Now, so when it comes to this type of information that we have here, I've mentioned that time is one of continuous data. Now, the way we handle or the way we process the data when it is continuous and the data that is discrete, you might find that there's a slight difference in where we process that data. So one way of processing the continuous data is the use of what is called class intervals. So what we have here are what are called class intervals. Class intervals. Now with the class intervals, we are grouping the data values together. We are classifying them. Now, for example, in this case, we have a survey where a certain number of children took some time to complete a puzzle. So now, because we might have so many data entries, some might take 2 minutes, some another 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. So we tend to bunch or group them together. So we can say, okay, let's look at those who took between 2 and 6 minutes. Okay, so then we bind them together. So these two children, we are saying they took a time between 2 and 6 minutes. It's just like age. For example, you have filled in some forms when they say, what's your age? Maybe it can be 30 to 40. So that is group data because there are many people you are in that category between 30 years and 40 years. So it's more like that. Age is one of continuous data that we tend to group. So the same thing with the time. How many took a time between 2 and 6 minutes? 2 registered that. Okay, between 6 and 10, and 10 children recorded there, and in this class, and so on. So I want you to be alert that when we are working with continuous data, we tend to group our data into what are called class intervals, like what we are given here. Now, and the cumulative frequency curves, I'll explain further on that. A cumulative frequency curve, we draw or plot cumulative frequency curves when our data is continuous like this. Okay, so that's what we have. So I just felt that I should explain that before we get into this question, because you will see some of the questions that will allow us to, that will ask us to process this data in such a way that it is continuous and not discrete. Now, let us come to this part here. So how many children completed the puzzle? So we can answer that question. 1.1. So we know that 2 children registered here, indicated that, okay, I spent between 2 and 6 minutes, and then 10, and then 9, and so on. So it means this is going to give us the total number of children who registered. for the puzzle or for the survey, so to speak. So we can add those ones. That is 2 plus 10, and that is 12 plus 9, 11 plus 7, 18, 26, 26 plus 9, that is that so? No, that is 12 plus 9, that is 21, 28, 36, 36 plus 9, 45. Okay, so we have 45 children that were involved in the puzzle. Now then, the next question is to calculate the estimated mean. Calculate the estimated mean time to complete the puzzle. So the estimated mean time is the average time. So on average, how much time did each child take to complete the puzzle? And this is just estimated. Okay, so now the way we deal with that is also one of the concepts that we need to know. We know that the mean, which is x bar, is defined as the sum of all the entries xi over the number of the entries, so how many there are. Now there are two ways of dealing with this information here, because our data is again grouped. So what we do is that now here, remember, we don't have a specific time for each individual child. So we are given that 2 children took a time between 2 and 6. So how do we handle this? How much did each of them take? So we use what is called the mid-interval value. Now between 2 and 6, we take the middle value, and that value will represent the average time for each child. So what I mean by that is, go to each class interval. Maybe we can make a small column here and say, okay, what is our MIV? So the mid interval value. So the middle value here is a 4. Simply add 6 and 2 and divide by 2. The average of the upper limit and the lower limit, add them and divide by 2. This is 16 divided by 2, that is an 8. And here we have got 12. And then there we have got 14 plus that one. That will give us a 32. So we've got 16 there. And here we've got 20. And then we have got 24. And then we have got 56 divided by 2. That is a 28. So we have, these are what we call the mid-interval values. The value for each term, for each class interval. Now what we are going to do now is to say, okay, these two, each one will take 4 minutes. 10, each one will take 8 minutes average. So that's what we'll do. So we add that together. So now by multiplying, we are saying how much time did these ones take. 4 by 2, they took 8 minutes. 8 by this, they took 8 minutes. So we are going to add all that. Okay, so by way of showing our calculation here, remember I said we can show this on a calculator, which is more preferable because there are 2 marks there, so you don't have to go through the labor of writing all the terms. But by way of explanation, we can say this is a 4 by 2 plus 8 by 10 plus 12 by 9, 12 by 9 plus 16 by 7 plus 20 by 8, 20 by 8 plus 24 by 7, 24 by 7 plus the last entry 28 by 2. Okay, and all that, the total is divided by the total number of children, which is 45. So if we are going to enter that one, we can enter it in our calculator. Let's do so. So that is a 4 by 2 plus 80, that is 8 by 10, that is 80, plus 12 by 19, so 12 by 19 by 9 rather, plus 16 by 7, plus 20 by 8, that is 160, plus 24 by 7, 24 by 7, plus 28 by 2, that is 56. So we just already say 56. What is the total? 692. So get 692 over 45, and our answer to that will be, let's divide that answer by 45. Divided by 45, we'll get 15.377, which is 15.37 minutes. So each one took on average of 15.37 minutes. So that's what we have. Now the other way of doing this, I think I need to explain, which is a shorter way, is to enter the values in our calculator. Okay, so we know we have to go through the statistical mode. So let's just press mode here. There's statistics 3, so we go to 3, and then we will enter our values. 1, okay, that is 1. And then now, okay, I didn't put, you need a frequency here because I'm going to enter the mid-interval values by the frequencies. So I have to go and put the frequencies there. You know, it's shift 1 setup, and go down, and then under statistics 4, then you can choose to switch on the frequency here. So we need the frequency on, because the frequency would give us how many of each in the interval. So now I'm going to have here 4 equals, enter those values, 8, 12, 16, 20 equals, 24 equals, and 28 equals. So let's scroll back to entry number 1 to match the frequencies. So here there are 2 equals, and then 10, the second one, and then 9, and then 7, and then 8. So 20 with 8, and then 24 with 7, 7 equals, and then 2 equals. Right, so our entries are done. Then you press AC, and then we go shift 1 to access the statistical mode. So under 4, variables, I guess that stands for variables 4, and then we need our X bar. I choose 2, and this I'll get 15.37, which is the same answer that we got here. Okay, 15.38. So in this case, we can say therefore our mean X bar is equal to 15.38 minutes. Yeah, we forgot to round off here. Remember when we divided, I think there was a 15.37 bar there. The bar indicates that the 7 is recurring, so we were supposed to write this to 15.38, round off to 2 decimal places. Okay, so you will see that whether we use this method and this one, you just need to write down the answer there, then we are done. Okay, so that's how you do the question. Now coming to our main focus for this is the frequency curve, how to draw the frequency cumulative curve. So 1,3, complete the cumulative frequency column in the table given in the answer book. Remember that with the paper 2, you are given an answer book. Okay, with the pages where you write your answers set out already in the answer book. It's different from paper one. So I have got a page of the answer book here, and then we are simply required 1,3. This 1,3, we are required to fill in the questions here. So you'll be given this. So now, how do you fill in this? Now the cumulative frequencies, this is just the we get the frequencies by adding all the previous or the preceding frequencies in the frequency distribution table. What we mean by that is we want to look at the let's say I'll explain it here so that you get to understand this. So we have got a 2 number of children in the first class interval. So here we can just register that there were 2 of them. So there were 2 there. Now, and then to get the cumulative frequency for the second one, so we add the preceding one. Here there are 10, so we add the preceding frequency, which is a 2. So 10 plus 2, we get a 12. Okay, and then here there are 9, so we add the preceding cumulative frequency, which is a 12, so we'll get a 20, 21. So the values that we get here are cumulative frequencies. In other words, this 21, it means 21 children spent 14 minutes and below. That's the meaning of this. Okay, 21 children spent 14 and below, 40 minutes and below to complete the puzzle. So how many spent between less than 18? So we have 7 here plus the 21. That will give us 28 plus the 28. That will give us 36 plus the 36 in that row. That will give us 43 plus the 43. That will give us 45. So this 45 here will tell us, will indicate that you have the total frequency. You must always get your total frequency, or another, the total number of objects, in this case children, that were interviewed is 45. So those are the cumulative frequencies that we get. And then now we come to the part where we are asked to draw a cumulative frequency graph. We call it an Ogive, that's another term for it, to represent the data on the grid provided in the answer book. 3 marks there. So you see it's 3 marks. Don't spend so much time on it. Now, how do we draw a cumulative frequency graph? Now, a cumulative frequency graph is drawn by plotting the upper limit with the cumulative frequency. So you plot the upper limit and the cumulative. So our point is going to be 6, 2. Okay, that is our first point. And the second one, upper limit of each class interval, 10 against 12. So these are our data points. And this one, 14 and 21, 14 and 21. So it's always upper limit and your cumulative frequency. But in the first class interval, the 2 here, you must take it, this 2, you connect it to the x-axis. In other words, take that one to be a 2, 0. 2, 0. Okay? So take that when you connect that to a lower limit. So the first point is a 2, 0. So remember this. In the first interval, the class interval, you have to plot 2 points. The lower limit and the upper limit. The lower limit, you connect it to the x-axis, and then the upper limit to your data points. So that is a must. So this one is always the lower limit, 2, 0. If it is a 7, 7, 0. If whatever value is there. So that's what we do. And then from there is the upper limit with the cumulative frequencies. Okay, so let's do that here. So what do we have? 2 0, so 2 zeros means at 2 I'm going to connect to a 0. So this is 5 divisions, and each one is giving us 5, so a 2 is here, so I'll plot there. So that is 1 2 0. Okay, you connect with the x-axis, and then the next data point is 6 and a 2. So on the first class I've plotted a 2, I'm going to plot a 6. So 6 is with a versus a 2. Now this is 2 4 6 a 10, so 6 2 is there, mark that point. The next one is 10 with 12, so 10 with the 12 is there, and then goes with 14 and 21. 14 is 21, 21 is somewhere there, and then 18 with 28. 18 is 15 16 17 18, and with 28, so 28 is that point. And then 22 with 36, 22 for 36, 30, this 22, 2 4 6, that is 36 there. And then 26 for 43, 26 43 42, 43 is there. And then we have 30 45, 30 and a 45, 2 4 5. So those are the data points, and then we have our curve, so you join those points. Okay, that is not smooth, but anyway, give it draw like that. Okay, so that is our cumulative curve. It is always a S shape. You find that it is a form of an S, like that. We call it a sigmoid shape. So that's the cumulative frequency curve. You can be asked questions based on this as well. Now let's look at the second question. Now use the graph to determine the median time taken to complete the puzzle. So these are some of the questions that they'll ask you. They'll ask you the median, the lower quartile Q1, the upper quartile Q3, the interquartile range. They can ask you those things. But for this question, use the graph to determine the median time taken. So the median is Q2. So Q2 is the data point that is halfway through your cumulative frequency. In other words, you take half of 45 students, okay, that is a 22.5. So go to 22, almost 23. So this 22, 20, 22.5 there, and then draw a line. Let me just insert a line there so that at least it's neater. So from there, I'll have a line that touches the graph. Okay, somewhere there. Now it doesn't look like, maybe I might need to move it up a bit. Let's see if we can move it. Okay, can we move it up a bit? No, it's not. And okay, how can I say it? Okay, let me just delete it because it's not exactly what I wanted. Now I will just delete it because it's somewhere here. I will just draw it anyway just to illustrate. So use a ruler, and then when it meets the graph, then you drop down all the quartiles. You read them from the x-axis. So from here, according to my sketch here, it looks like 15 is the lower, the median rather. So 15 is the median. So you can write the answer here. 1,5 is you are given the space. Remember, you are given an answer book, so the answer there will be you just write it in black here, which is what, 15 minutes. Right, that answers the question. So mostly what I wanted to emphasize is, well, I hope you have learned quite a few different things. One, how do you find the mean when you are given grouped data? And secondly, how do you plot the cumulative frequency curve when you are given these time intervals? So take the upper limit against the cumulative frequency curve and plot those points and get the graph. Okay, I hope you learned something from this lesson. Pass your comments and please like the video, share it, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.